Hey everybody, Charles McFall here with EMS Underground, and I am getting ready for the show here. So I'm popping up the live, as I do. And we'll do the share and the like, and then we're going to get going here with the topic. And the topic is going to be, it's going to be good today, for true. So let me get this set and shared on my stuffs. Let's see. Like and share. Oh, I need to turn off that air conditioner. Hello, Norm. Good to see you. I'm just sharing this out before I get started, real quick. Let's see. AMR. There we go. All right. Much better. Sounds much better. Man, it looks kind of whited out on my computer screen here. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that bright. Yeah. Let's try that. All right. Hey, again, Charles McFall, EMS Underground, and welcome to the show. Today, got another news link to a story that man, the news just keeps hitting on. It just keeps hitting on AMR, and right now it's the City of Dunwoody. Right, that seems a little loud. Let me turn some of that down. The City of Dunwoody is, yeah, get the right one, is still wanting to get rid of AMR. Right, hello, Charlie. Good to have you in. I want your comments. I want your questions. We're going to be talking about it. But here's the newest thing, right? The City of Dunwoody had a special meeting with the EMS Region 3 office, council, if you will, and laid out their case that they want to start their own. I don't know if it's start or if it's bring in their own EMS service for the city. Now, DeKalb County covers a lot more than just Dunwoody, right? So it covers a lot of space. And there's a lot there to dig into. They still hit that one councilman who's trying to make a name for himself. He's still hitting that one note of there were parents with kids with seizures. Motor seizure had to wait. Shut up, man. You one note hack. That's all you've got, and then get out, man. Honestly, if you're going to prove a case, you got to hit me with fact after fact after fact. Now, let me start with the one thing the news really didn't do. Because news is about drama. If it bleeds, it leads. That's how we sell things. And the news story, all it did was talk about the drama of it all. It showed the fire chiefs going, their response times being over 8 minutes is unacceptable to the city of the fire city of Dun, whatever it is, and then and that's the thing in that news report. I'm addressing the news, Charlie. So I definitely will try to get to that. First, I'm addressing the news part of it, and the news part of it was just these clips of they're not doing this, they're not doing that. They had the police officers had to take a delusional patient, and I think that's how they phrased it, a delusional patient to the hospital in the back of their car. Oh my God! That's the end of the world as you know it. So, what? Why? And this is how dumb news can be. So news was 100% about drama. And actually, I'm going to pull up the link right now as I'm talking so I can share it in the little chat here on Facebook so that everybody can see that you can either watch the story yourself or you can read the synopsis. The synopsis is basically a word-for-word recounting of the story, and then they added a little bit extra in there. But let me pull this up here. This is it. It's from WSB News, and I'm going to make sure the video stops. So I might want to refer to some of the stuff that's actually in the report here. So let me get that pulled up. And actually, I think I didn't go so far as to see if I didn't go so far as to see if the Facebook, I think the Facebook chat can actually be on the broadcast. So if you watch it later, or it'll be right there in the corner. It'd be kind of cool, right, to see it in the thing. Anyway, neither here nor there. So let's talk about, let's just, first and foremost, the EMS committee, if I understand, I'm going to double check it here, but they said, okay, we will form a special committee. This is a special meeting called blah, 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 blah. We'll form a special committee that you have to show us what this is going to look like, right? What is EMS in the city of Dunwoody going to look like? So basically now Dunwoody has to come up with a plan. There are some numbers that have come out from all of this that are just shocking. And this camera, man, it is killing me. It will not stay up. And I know you guys don't care. You just want to talk about AMR, and I get that. But it's just bugging me. So there's some numbers we're going to get to here in the report. And I got to look. I got to look at, I don't know. I didn't put it on my computer. I know there's a way Tom said we could put our computer screens up. And that way I could actually look at the report while I'm doing this. And you guys could see it on the screen. But you can pull it up for yourself. But there was a special emergency meeting for all of this on Thursday, so I guess yesterday, and it says a call by a city that wants to be able to dump a private company but can't because it's a contract with the county. I'm sorry, I'm making fun of the news because the way this thing is just being handled and phrased is just stupid. It's just adding drama and fire because the news does not care. The news people do not care what's going on for the citizens of Dunwoody and for the citizens of DeKalb County. And that's important to remember, is that all this news reporting, all they care about is getting eyes on them, getting people to share these links, to open it, to get people like us to talk about it, right? And yeah, so they're getting what they want. I'm using their link. I'm using their site. I'm talking about it, about them. But none of that actually matters to the conversation that we're going to have about AMR and this and that and the other. So, yeah, they pulled up that stupid 18-month-old thing again. And I said it before on the AMR show that I did about when this first came out, when it first hit the news. I said it then, and I'll say it again. That's bad parenting. That's bad parenting if you go, they had to wait for 30 minutes. No, they didn't. This is a thing. This kid had prescribed medication. This kid had a history of seizures. These parents were supposed to be educated on how to handle this. And yeah, he probably could have used an ambulance, but they didn't have to wait for 30 minutes. They chose to because they could have gotten their asses in a car and gone to the hospital. So shut up about that. So it's EMS Region 3 council members acknowledge that a fresh look is needed. Okay. Now, it was the DeKalb County Fire Chief. It wasn't. I didn't realize DeKalb County Fire, sometimes cities have their own little fire. So it was DeKalb County Fire, not Dunwoody Fire, that he called. Now, here's what they're not really harping on, but he called the contract a flawed contract that was signed in 2013. And this, I don't believe, is in the video clips. In the video clips, I don't recall them talking about the contract being bad and that needs to be looked at. Because, people watch, and that's where the drama is. The contract is just, or what they talked about is just how horrible AMR is in the video clips if you watch it. So here's the thing. Transport rate for AMR at the time in 2013 when this contract was set is $800. Transport rate. I don't know if there's other fees. I don't know if then it's just, hey, that's what the county is going to pay and you've got to get the rest from insurance. I'm not entirely sure of how much that means. But if that means, if I'm reading it as it is, $800 for every transport you do, that's not a lot of money. Then DeKalb County, and then he said compared to, now this is the DeKalb County Fire Chief, so it sounds like he's actually being honest and giving a good presentation of, look, AMR's got it tough too, because we need to relook at the contract. He's not saying fire AMR, he's saying we got to relook at the contract and redo this. From what I'm reading, again, all my opinions are from what I'm reading, and I can't see your chat. Actually, you know what? I can pop up this. I can see the chat. So if you're chatting, I should be able to see it on the screen over here because I've got the news story up right now. So, but the County Fire Chief Darnell Fulham says that AMR gets $800 for a transport compared to neighboring counties get $1,200 per transport. So that's a huge cut. What's more, DeKalb County charges AMR $750,000 to use its 911 dispatch system. I don't know if that's yearly. I don't know if that's a set fee and they're paying it over time. But so DeKalb County charges AMR to be there to service the county. This is a bad deal, people. This is financially horrible. Does that excuse response times? No, I'm not saying it does. I'm saying that this is bad all the way around. So Dunwoody is actually, it's not DeKalb County that's trying to get rid of AMR, according to this story. DeKalb County is still in a contract with AMR. AMR, even no matter what happens here in Dunwoody, AMR will still service DeKalb County. And that happens in places. And maybe that is the solution. Maybe part of the solution is taking all of the burden off of AMR and sharing the burden with another service that would service one area, City of Dunwoody. So it looked, according to the story, it looked like the council was going to let Dunwoody do it, and then they said, well, they voted unanimously to allow Dunwoody to lay out what its ambulance service would look like. So it is a local issue. Now, okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. So the EMS Council will have a committee formed by the end of the month. So that's what's going on right now. Just to be clear, the City of Dunwoody is trying to get rid of AMR, and it's trying to handle it that way. So this, because they keep hitting the same notes, to me, this is the problem. You don't have a case. You're politicizing this from the outside looking in. I feel like you're politicizing this. You are making it about power, about, oh, look, I brought in new help. I got rid of those evil, stinking assholes who won't come save your life. Vote for me for the next thing up. Vote for me for the next thing up. That's what this feels like, 100%. Now, yeah, are there some response times that Charlie Howe says, how can AMR have a 45-minute response time? I could tell you how. So the way I was on a truck recently. I don't work for AMR at all. I've done clinicals there. Just to be clear, I have no financial ties to AMR at all. And quite possibly talking about this, I guess, could get me stopped from doing clinicals there. I would hope not. I'd hope that freedom of speech would be a fair thing, and that I'm just talking about the issues and I want your feedback, and I'm just talking about the information I have at hand. So I want to be clear. By no means am I condemning AMR. By no means am I condemning anybody but the politicians, honestly, because I don't have any facts. I have no facts to go over here, and that's why I want everybody to remember when you're talking about this. If you go with the BS that's being spewed in the news, you're gonna talk like an idiot. If you go with the rumors and what I've heard, you're a fool. You're a straight up fool. But if you can show me, here's this time, file a Freedom of Information Act and see what you get. I want to know. The reason I get so mad about this report is that same councilman that kicked all this off in the news, kicked all this off months ago, back in March or April, somewhere in there. It's the same two stories, period, from him. He doesn't have 15, 20, 30. Dude, it's been months. If this is a serious community-threatening issue, you'll have fact after fact after fact, and you would throw it down like a big hammer on the table right there in this council meeting going, the facts don't lie. That's what you would do. And thank you, Charlie. Charlie agrees it does. It absolutely sounds like a political beef. Now, I do want to get into some of the realities that are there, and then we can talk about what this might look like. What this might look like a little bit later for AMR, for DeKalb, and for Dunwoody. But yeah. Facts, man. And this is the first time I've heard, or at least been reported. Again, I need to find out how I can find out when these meetings are going and go to these meetings so I can actually bring it back here and talk about it educatedly. And maybe I can actually talk to the chief and get some information, or talk to the councilman and see if he's got more than just an idiot for herself there. Because you're not slamming down this response time, that response time, this response time. So I'll probably come back and fuss more about the politics because it gets me so hot, because this screws over the community. This screws over employees. This screws everybody, right? Tom, every time we talk about this, Tom comes in and talks about, Well, what about the hospitals making the ambulance wait for 3 hours? What about this? What about that? And he's right. There's a bunch of pieces. This councilman, and it seems like there were a few other people possibly that were there. Let me see if the report. I know the fire chief was there, and it just says he talked about the contract. Let me see if I can get anybody else that was there. It says one by one, Dunwoody city leaders laid out their case, but it doesn't give us the case. It just says Police Chief Billy Grogan, the excessive response time of AMR is unacceptable and putting lives at risk. What's excessive? What is the response time, Billy? I need to know, because I can say the fact that I called you and you didn't come right when I called you is excessive, and prove me wrong. Then to prove him wrong, you got to go pull the response times, find it, and go. On average, I'm making a number up. On average, they're there in 8 minutes. On average, they're there in 13 minutes. On average, blah. You know, I would love to pull police response times. Oh, it's not an even comparison, is it, Billy? Because City of Dunwoody has its own police. You're not dependent on DeKalb County sheriffs. And again, taking the anger out of it, taking the politics out of it, maybe this is the best thing to happen. Because an AMR is not having to put up, I think they're at 40-something trucks during the day, I heard. Don't have official numbers. This is stuff when I was writing, I heard them talk about. Third writing, to be clear. I heard them talk about that possibly it's up to 40-something trucks during the day. And they have them stationed. Every time I've ridden, we've been out. We've gotten a position. Typically, for whatever reason, I'm on a truck that goes out towards Wesley Chapel. But I know there's trucks all over, right? There's Midtown. There's all kind of stuff. So I get that there's a ton of places they put them. Every time we roll up to DeKalb County Hospital or DeKalb at Hillendale's not as busy, but the DeKalb main campus is always got trucks in the bay. Mostly from DeKalb County, some from other services. And they've got, you're parking around the bays as well. That's an issue. So the police chief wants them out. It says Grogan's officers were forced to transport a delusional man and need a psychiatric care to an emergency room in the back of a police SUV. Delusions are not life-threatening emergencies. Let's get that point clear right now. Delusions are not life-threatening emergencies. So put them in your car. That tells me your police officers don't want to deal with it because they don't want to deal with it. You're still going to have to end up at the hospital, jackass. And I've had that. I've had that in the county. I've had that. I've had everywhere I've ever worked, you'll come across somebody where the police chief says, you don't have to do that. That's what the ambulance is for. And we get called out and somebody's not cooperating. And because this is a true story. So I get called. I cannot remember what county I was in, but it was a rural county. It was not Newton, so it had to be in Jasper or Morgan, probably. And we get called out, and this guy's combative. He's a little drunk. He's a little altered, but he's obviously his airways open and breathing. I got to check his pulse, but he was combative. He's trying to bite us. He's fighting. I'm like, all right, you know what? This is your guy. He's already in cuffs. He's under arrest, because if he's under arrest, he's all yours. Like, well, he's under arrest, but what if we're not supposed to transport people who are altered? This is not a life-threatening emergency. What am I going to do? Then take his handcuffs off and you tie him down to my stretcher, because I'm not dealing with that. Because he's violent, he's medically sound, right? I mean, I couldn't get a blood pressure on him, but he's breathing. His pulse ox is 98%. His heart rate is within normal limits. His skin is fine. His pupils are reactive, even though he's obviously drunk and being an ass. This is not a medical call. So, Billy, you want to pull out that, they had to take a delusional man. Delusions are not a 911 medical emergency. They're actually a police emergency, because that's behavioral, and that's a danger to society is what that becomes. So give me some more grief. Give me some more crybaby stuff about how your police officers had to transport them in the back of a police SUV. Oh, dear, what will we do? Seriously, man, you're killing me with that. You're killing me, and that plays into the drama. And what, Billy? What you think? Because Dunwoody City has Dunwoody EMS or ProCare EMS, or fill in the blank, somebody else comes in to take in that city section EMS, you think they're going to transport every patient that you just don't want to deal with? I'm telling you now, if you're putting them under arrest, you're going to have to deal with medics who are going to tell you, if they're under arrest, an officer rides in the back. Well, we don't have the people. We're going to do that. Then you got to take the cuffs off. He's not under arrest. Well, we're not going to do that either. Politics, man, you suck. So he wants AMR out. And again, to be clear, I'm saying there's no condemnation for me of AMR. I'm trying to just, as a media person, talk about this stuff with experience and some reality behind it from being in the field. But I'm also not defending AMR. Because I had a question about how can AMR have a 45-minute response time. I'm going to get to some of that, right? So, of course, the chair, Councilman Nall talked about the 18-month-old. I hate that dude. Mayor Dennis Shortle with the City of Dunwoody says, we've also met with the regional director of AMR, and yet, as you have heard, the problem has persisted. Notice the words there. I'm going to go back to this one because I want to lean in. Notice the words there. Yet, as you have heard, the problem, and yes, he might be referencing to everybody just standing up and spitting out stories. What he didn't say, and it's very telling that these words were not used. Yet, as you have seen. Come on. I just like my computer. I don't know. I like seeing my computer in the background. Yet, as you have seen. Come on. Do your thing. Thank you. And my point is, if they had fact after fact after fact after fact of this is when they didn't show up, because that's the news had no problem. And sometimes AMR's been a no-show. And I had to think for a second and follow where they're going to see if they meant AMR didn't show up to the meeting or AMR didn't show up to a call. And that's when they talked about the delusional man. And there's some other story. With, again, on the news, no facts behind it. The firefighters were on the scene going, where's the ambulance? This woman needs to be at the hospital now. And she later died at the hospital. Where are the facts? That if you're a citizen of the City of Dunwoody, a resident of the City of Dunwoody, if you're a resident of the County of DeKalb, you should be filing Freedom of Information Acts against the fire department, against the police station, and against AMR, because you should be yelling at the top of your lungs, where are the facts? Where is call after call after call they didn't show up? Where's call after call after call where they had a bad response time? Anybody can have a bad response time once. And I know, I'm not saying this is a one-time deal. We've had people in our chat show up on the show here in the chat the last time we talked about this. And please share this out. If you know people in the cab, I want their comments now. I want to respond to what you have to say. For anything you want to rebut, any facts you want to give me, I would like facts, because I'm sitting here at a table in an office going off a news report, because getting the facts is muddled and difficult right now. So if you've got something from firsthand experience, if you've got a place you can send me that shows me facts. We looked up the last time somebody looked up overall response times from a national average, where you reported into the state and they tally it all up. And the cab was right up there at 13, 14 minutes. It was, as response time. That's considerably higher than 8 minutes. And when you have an average like that, that means you have times over that and times under that. And the median is 14 minutes, 13 to 14 minutes. I get that. And I don't know how to talk about this and not yell and not make fun of people. I'd like to have a civil discussion, but it starts off uncivilized. It starts off with this stuff going on in the news and of course the only clips they showed was the councilman and the people saying, oh, they're horrible. It did not, and maybe I could go back and rewatch it. I'm not going to do it now because obviously we're live. It did not actually. I don't recall it talking about the contract in the clips. The AMR Regional Director, Terrence Ramodar, I think is how you say it, Ramodar, told Channel 2's Wendy Halloran, we all understand the contract was designed 5 to 6 years ago. We all admit, everyone, including Dunwoody chief, ourselves, that the contract is flawed, and we are trying to make changes around the system. Here's where AMR is handling it very poorly. Very poorly. You're not publishing your times to the public. You're not getting on your website and getting on your Facebook page and going, for this month, here are the average run times. For last week, here are the average run times. This guy, the regional director, the two quotes that they showed on the TV didn't address the problem. Didn't say, yes, there was an issue. We have done this, and this since that time, since January. We've done all of this stuff, and we continue to do this. He's not laying out a solution on what they're doing. Here's what he said. I saw him say it on the TV, and I'm reading the quote right here. We don't think it's an ambulance company problem. We deeply all believe this is a system problem, and if you heard, the problem existed before AMR's contract. He also said, look, this is a local issue. We operate in 42 states, the nation's largest ambulance provider. Look us up. We do a number of phenomenal things all around the country. This is just to remind everybody, this is an isolated issue specific to Cobb County. That gets you fired, dude. That gets all those hundreds of employees that you're supposed to be taking care of right now by giving them a job and giving them a way to do their job. That gets them kicked out of the county. That response right there. God, seriously. AMR is going to get gone because you, as a regional director, are not handling this. Any citizen who hears that thinks you're an idiot. They do not care about the rest of America. They do not care that you're the largest ambulance service in the country. What they care about is people in uniform who are taught to respect and believe because you have a badge on, because you have a button-up shirt and a nice hat and a jacket, and you've got a title of city, chief, and you got a title of fire chief, and you got a title of councilman. So they see this and they go, these are the people that are the leaders of our community that we're looking to make changes. And the leaders are saying, you missed this, you've messed up, your response times are long. And your response to those people is, hey, look, we do great everywhere else. This is just a problem here. What can we do? What can we do? And now I'm talking as a medic, as a person in the field. What can we do? Because those people who are trying, and we've talked about the range, right? We've talked about the ranges of, there are people who dodge calls. There's issues with hospitals. There's people who really try. They get their truck turned around and get 10-8 as soon as they can. We talked about the personnel. So let's understand that conversation has been had here already. So now the conversation is, how do you go in every shift? How do you go in every shift and know that this is going on? Know that the news, at least the one news outlet, I really don't know what the papers are saying. I don't know what the local papers are doing. And maybe I'll get a time to do it this week to look up more information and facts and bring that to you. I promise you this, but before the next time this happens, if we have another DeKalb AMR conversation on this show, I'm going to make sure to have a whole lot more facts. But how do you go in wanting to do the best job possible on your shift, knowing that the public believes that you're not going to show up? Knowing that, because most people don't even realize it's just the city of Dunwoody that's doing this. Everybody associates AMR with DeKalb, and even Remotar said DeKalb County, because they see it as we have the contract for DeKalb County, and they do. It's not DeKalb County officials. The fire chief didn't say, oh yeah, in the county as well, there's this, and this. The fire chief said the contract's flawed, and we need to work on it. At least that's what's quoted. He may have said a lot more that's not in the report. How do you do your job? How do you stay moralized? How do you stay able, knowing that this is going on? Knowing that the person who's supposed to have your back, the regional director, is saying stuff like, I know it's only a problem here. Everywhere else is cool. He said it twice. I mean, and this is... He was asked specifically if the comments were scathing, and he said, quote, and he did say that. He played this in the clip. As far as the negative comments against the company itself, look, you know we do a great job. No, they don't know that. No, we don't know that. What we know is people in uniform, people in power are using at least a handful of legitimate, provable complaints to get you out. That's what we know. What I also believe personally is that the company itself has been trying to improve its response times by putting up more trucks. I know for a fact they brought in people from South Fulton. They lost the South Fulton contract or whatever they were doing down there. I know people were transferring up. And so they brought in more personnel that are already trained, already familiar with their system, just need to learn the area type of deal. I know that they're hiring people. We have students over there, a number of students over there working that have graduated from here that are fairly new to being hired there. I know they're constantly doing orientations over there. Again, I can't prove it. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know one of the weeks I rode, because I've ridden a number of times with AMR for doing third rides. One of the weeks they said we had 36 trucks up yesterday. And this is not quotable. This is not provable. This is what was said around me. We had 36 trucks up yesterday, and starting next week, and this is back in mid-July, starting next week, we'll have 42 trucks up every day. I have no idea how many trucks up they have at night, right? I don't know how that works. I mean, I know how it works. You put up trucks. I just don't know how they're planning it. I think the EMS Council did the right thing to say, okay, we need to take a look at this. We need to see what's going on so we can be educated, so we can know and make an accurate decision. I think they did perfectly fine with that. What do you think? What are some of the things? Because I'm going to talk about the 4-hour or the 45-minute. The 45-minute response time. But what are you thinking about this? How do you feel about Dunwoody and the response times and how they're talking about it? Because I think I'm done yelling about how things were said and presented to us. Now let's talk reality. A 45-minute response time. How does AMR have a 45-minute response time? One of the ways I personally experienced was all the trucks were tied up. For one reason or another, all the trucks were tied up. We were positioned 30 some odd minutes away from a call. And we were apparently, theoretically, because again, you have DeKalb County dispatch. You have AMR putting trucks up and taking trucks down. So I have very little information on how that works together. Like how AMR feeds to the DeKalb County 911 system, because as far as I can tell, DeKalb County 911 still dispatches the trucks. So it's just about putting them in service, taking them out of service. And that's done behind the scenes, right? You don't necessarily hear that. You don't hear. I've never heard one of the crews I've been with get on the public radio and say, Med 30 is out of service. It just comes across that says AMR has a phone, an Android phone that's got a special program on it that lets AMR send information. It lets them it tells them where to post. It sends them the address for the call. A GPS pops up automatically and takes them to the address. And so anytime we go 10-8 after a call, we'll get beeped on that phone. It's a very high pitch, tones like, and it'll pop up saying your standby location, and then the GPS will flip over and take you to that location. And then you go, and you have to on the phone. You go, we're en route. They show you say we're in the area or we're standing by for a call, that kind of thing. And then presumably that gets all that GPS stuff is fed into the 911 system as well, so they know where trucks are and that. So you've got the DeKalb County 911 system doing the dispatching. And so theoretically, if everything is working as intended, we were the closest truck to this call. I honestly don't even remember. Actually, I do. I think it was a child choking call is what it was. As a kid who was 6, and they called because he was choking. And instantly when they go, okay, they hit it, we're en route, pops up the GPS. This isn't a matter of 30 seconds from being dispatched because you get hit on the phone and they have a computer system that has calls and you can see where trucks are and what they're doing too. So they open up a computer and they get some CAD information. So the thing pops up on the phone, got the CAD up, and then the radio starts dispatching. All this happens within a matter of seconds of each other. And so we were all buckled in already. We're all just sitting there. And so the driver put it in gear, hit, we're on our way on the phone. The passenger, picks up the radio after they finish dispatching and says, we're clearing the call, we're en route. And it said on GPS 33 minutes to get there. 33 minutes. That's one way. That's just one of a few ways that you can have a plus 8-minute response time. It's because so many people are calling 911 and so many things are going on. Another reason, the last call I ran with AMR, we called ahead. So the last shift actually worked is not the right word. I still want to be clear about my words. The last shift I was on a truck with AMR. The cab at Hillendale went on diversion for 4 hours in the middle of the afternoon. I don't remember all the ones, but I know through the day, DeKalb Hillendale was on diversion, Grady was on diversion, Emory was on diversion, and DeKalb Medical was on diversion. Not necessarily all at the same time, but that happened. I mean, they came over to public radio and said, everyone be advised, DeKalb Hillendale is on diversion from, I think it was like noon to 1600. So at the end of the day, I think DeKalb main campus was on diversion, but so was Grady, so was Emory, and wherever we were on this call, those were the 3 main hospitals to us. And the guy was altered, he was combative, he was definitely having medical issues because of his altered state, and I don't remember exactly. I was dodging punches and spitballs, so I only half caught what the medic called in, but he called in to the Cat Main, and he goes, "Look, I know you're on diversion. You're the closest hospital. Here's the case, blah, 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 blah. Grady's on diversion and Emory's on diversion. This guy doesn't need to go 30 minutes up the road to North Side." Something along those lines. So the cat said, fine, bring him. We walk in, and the guy's screaming and fighting, and he's actually okay, calm. He didn't really start screaming until we got into the hospital and he had to wait for a few minutes. But he's super altered. He's in and out of consciousness as far as just being altered and just fighting, and it's not a great situation. Somebody else was already sitting and waiting their turn for triage. So we waited. Ultimately, and here's an interesting problem. This is a problem I have no idea what to do about it. The medic was like, I don't know what to do about it because that's a fight that I'm not sure we're ready to start fighting. 2 supervisors were there when we pulled up for AMR. They left. I say that because one of them could have stayed and taken over the patient, but our truck, see, that's the thing. We were right at the time for that truck to be out of service and get off duty. The night shift supervisors and this is fair, I guess, they're more worried about the on-duty trucks and keeping everybody available because we were not going to take another 911 call. The system had already taken the truck out of service, so basically as soon as we cleared this call, we were going back to base and shutting down for the night. Plus, we had to clean up everything. We were going to be out, even if it was the middle of the day, we're going to be out of service for a little bit because we had to get new straps for the stretcher and new straps for the backboard because they all needed to be decon. They were red bagged. We cleaned up the back of the ambulance itself pretty decently, but we had to get supplies, minimum. So here's the interesting thing. So we're at the cab, we're waiting. This guy starts screaming, raising hell. They basically do triage out in the entranceway of the cab ER. And somebody there signed for the patient and then told us that we had to wait with the patient. The cab medical personnel at the hospital treated this patient on our stretcher. Actually, at one point, security helped us. Security came and with the nurse direction. And so we had medical personnel, we had the cab security, moved the patient to a decab bed, right? And was restrained, tied down to the bed. And then medically restrained by the cab hospital. So they were treating the patient. Somebody had signed for the patient, and we were told we had to wait with the patient. We still had to wait with them. We were there for 3 hours. We got there at around 8 o'clock. We left around 11 p.m. And that was after the medic called the supervisor again. I don't know if that was the second time or I don't know, but I know it was an again situation. And it said, look, you need to send somebody over here to sit with this patient because we're supposed to be off duty. We still have to decon the truck, and we're supposed to be back tomorrow for more. So you need to take care of this. And he goes, hold on. And the word I got was, hold on, I'm working on something. 5 minutes later, we have a bed. They had 3 rooms open in the ER. 3. In various states of preparedness. The one we got had just been cleaned out, and that was fine because, it had just been emptied. It hadn't been quite rearranged yet and cleaned up and tidied, right, for somebody to walk in. But they were already on a decab bed, so that was perfect for us. The other room was mostly ready. The third room was pristine, ready to go. And we're still sitting out in the hallway waiting for a room. That's another way you get a 45-minute response time is because you're sitting on the and word, quote, now this is a quote fingers thing. Word has it, somebody before us, a crew before us waited 3 hours at the hospital. That's ridiculous. Aretha Burton says there needs to be a better spirit of discernment regarding what is and is not ambulance necessary emergency. Little boo-boo from a cab train station who calls every day with the same issue is not an emergency. Oh, I'm going to come back to that, Aretha. Thank you. That reminds me. I've ridden just enough to know there's a major regular at that hospital that calls the ambulance and comes in. And here's how you recognize her is she has a bunch of bags. Like a bunch of bags. Like she just went on a huge shopping spree at the mall. A bunch of bags. So I'd seen her the last time I'd ridden, which was a week or two before this ride that I'm referring to. And somebody referenced, and they were talking to her like, hey, whatever her name is. And again, I couldn't even tell you because of HIPAA and all that jazz. But whatever her name is, oh, hey, how you doing? Da. And she walks in. I don't know what the complaint is. I know she's a regular that apparently calls. They go pick her up. That are getting her back to the truck. Just bring her right to the hospital. Out you go. And the cab knows her well enough that they walk her right into triage her, and then send her to wait somewhere. I have no idea what the call is, but I know she's there all the time. Now, it could be legit. It could be sickle cell. It could be, I don't know. It could be anything. That's legit. It could be a lot of things that are illegit. While we're waiting with this guy on the wall, she comes in with a crew, walks right into triage, gets triaged, and walks around and leaves the area. So I don't know if she went to the waiting room. I don't know where they sent her. That tied up a truck. That cut in line, honestly, in front of us to get triaged because we were dealing with something at the time, I guess. I don't know. The drunk man at the gas station being an ass, but the cops don't want to do the paperwork, so they call EMS for transport is not an emergency, is what Aretha says as well here. And I agree with you, Aretha. The problem is we have no legal ability to say that on the level of medic advanced in EMT. We get called. We go to the patient just wants to go to the hospital, we take them. That's how that works. And in the cab, because I never really realized this because I had limited options of reasonable hospitals where I worked. So the local hospital was pretty much always out of the question. Nobody ever wanted to go to the local hospital in the 2 rural counties I worked. Newton, everybody went to Newton, pretty much. It was rare that we went to Rockdale, but that was it. Those were the 2 hospitals. And either one was a fairly same amount of drive, depending on where you are in the county. Wasn't a big deal. Okay, you want to go to Rockdale, South Newton? Fine. Bloop. 10 minutes later, we're at Rockdale. Got them off stretcher, turned them over, came back to county, and went to Nate. It was fine. So I didn't realize, technically, patients get to pick their hospital as long as two things happen. I hold up one, but two things happen. I'm going to go here. So you have to have two things happen and let the patient pick the hospital. One is it has to be medically appropriate hospital, right? You're having a heart attack and you want to go to St. Joe's and that's 45 minutes away. That's not medically appropriate. We've got to get you here to take care of you here. That's number one. So that's an example. So medically appropriate. And the second thing is reasonable, right? So again, it falls into we're in South DeKalb and you want to go to Augusta. That's not going to happen. Nobody's going to take you to Augusta. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I can't get right here. So, but those two things are the only things that let us go, no, you have to go to this hospital because of medically XYZ, because you might not make it to the other hospital. And then, no, we're not going to take you an hour and a half to 3 hours down the road because you just want to. But I never realized until recently. I asked Tom about it. I was like, yeah, no, that's the law. And I asked because every time we go on a call in DeKalb County, what hospital do you want to go to? Oh, I go up to Northside. I go up to St. Joe's. I go to Emory. And it's sometimes it's DeKalb, Maine. Sometimes it's DeKalb, Hillendale. And the medic can go, look, DeKalb, Maine is on diversion. There's a chance that they're going to make us go somewhere else. Would you like to go to DeKalb, Hillendale, which is 15 minutes this way, and same people, same system, but you can get seen faster and so on. And sometimes they do that, but if they want their hospital, we got to try to take them to their hospital. That's kind of an issue, honestly. It's tough out there. It's just tough because everybody wants to blame everybody else. And yet again, this is an illustration of nobody wants to come together to talk about it, to say, this is the issue. How do we fix it? Dunwoody has got its panties in a bunch. AMR will not last in Dunwoody. One way or another, those politicians will kick them out. I don't know that AMR wants to stay in Dunwoody with the responses that they're giving by the regional. Is he a director or coordinator? Let me be clear about that. Romatar. Rameter. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of your name. I'm not sure how to pronounce Rameter. I gotta stop. It's just stupid. I'm gonna stop. I'm sorry, I'm messing up the name. But he is the AMR Regional Director. Terrence. I'm going to call him Terrence because it's his first name and I can pronounce Terrence just fine. He's the AMR Regional Director. So when the AMR Regional Director is making comments like, look, everywhere else in the country are fine. This is just local to here that there's an issue. Maybe they don't want to fight Dunwoody. Maybe they're like, good, take it on. Because they'll still keep DeKalb County. And then that's one less thing they have to focus on. And maybe that is the solution, if I'm being honest. Maybe the solution is City of Dunwoody. I would love to see, let me put a pin in that and come back to it. I would love to see the amount of calls that are in the City of Dunwoody versus the amount of calls that are in the rest of DeKalb County and all its cities and areas and rural areas. Because maybe if Dunwoody is overwhelmingly higher, I don't know. I don't have the numbers. But maybe if Dunwoody is overwhelmingly higher, maybe you do need a service just for that area. And then it'll breathe better. I have zero belief that the people calling for change are going to support whoever comes in. None. I think the city chief, not knowing the city chief, Billy, not knowing him, knowing human nature and knowing politics and seeing the way this is presented, what I see is that city chief and that councilman are going to tell the new crew, the new company that comes in, or the city, if the city does it itself, then they're going to want to have a say in it. And they're going to have their fingers in running it. And they're going to use it as power. And they're going to say, hey, you know what? We got AMR out. We'll get you out if you don't do it our way. You better do it this way. And it's going to be a bully situation, a bad situation. That's worst case scenario. Best case scenario, I'm going to see them. I see both of them walking away going, we won. All right, y'all fix it. And dumping it on whoever comes in. All right, let's talk. I've got a few more minutes here. Let's talk about what this is going to look like. What it means if the EMS Region Council says, yes, AMR is out of Dunwoody, and they dictate the time, right? There has to be a transfer. You can't leave it unprotected. So they'll have a transfer of a reasonable time. And then keep in mind, again, this is not DeKalb County. It's just the City of Dunwoody. But if the EMS Council comes back and says, yes, we're going to say AMR is out, the City of Dunwoody gets to do whatever N is. Again, they might look at just hiring. They might try bringing Grady, which we're seeing how well Grady's doing in South Fulton. Let me just tell you, anybody who says they have all the answers is full of crap. And Grady kind of went around touting, oh, we need South Fulton. We got the answers. And they're getting their butts handed to them. They have got non-emergency companies doing backup 911 in South Fulton because they do not have the ability, the personnel, or the gear to handle all the calls. They don't have all the answers. And right now with South Fulton overwhelming them, and that's how I see it from the outside, is South Fulton is overwhelming Grady because Grady's still handling all its calls and all its territory. South Fulton is being handled but calling for a lot of help. I mean, from what I understand, there's a full-time, at least one full-time truck in a non-emergency service that is dedicated to doing 911 in South Fulton, which means they instantly know they're going to get overwhelmed, and they already have trucks dedicated from other services to take over the call volume. With that going on, there's no way Grady's going to come in and try to take this. It's. Have you ever moved from one house to another? While I'm going to throw in a bunch of scenarios here. While planning a wedding, while needing a surgery, while filling the kids right, while your kids are getting ready to go to school, you get there's a saturation point where you will be overwhelmed. Just naturally, you cannot have there's no amount of capacity in the world to let you handle everything. And right now, that's where I think Grady is. Grady is working on stabilizing, and that's the word I would use, is they're working on stabilizing the 911 system in South Fulton because it's unstable. If you're constantly having mutual assist, basically. Now, mutual assist might only be a governmental term when you do county-to-county agreements, mutual aid, those kind of things. It might not be. It might actually apply to private services. So if I use that term incorrectly, I apologize. But if you're living off of mutual aid right now, which is having other companies take over the call volume because it's overwhelming, you're unstable as a system in the county. While it's unstable, you don't move or pick up a whole nother county or city in this case. You don't pick up another city area and try to take over that call volume. So I think Grady's out of the equation right now. Then who do you have? There's a Maramed, sure. There's ProCare. There's, you name it. There's a number of services out there. National EMS got bought by Premier, I want to say, but quite possibly Premier. And Premier bought Central, and I want to say they bought somebody else. So quite possibly a big company like that who's trying to challenge AMR might be able to come in and bring in some resources and take over it. But you're going to have, if you're bringing in somebody else, it has to be somebody brand new. Obviously, you're getting rid of AMR, and Grady Grady might take it, and I think that'd be the worst decision ever made, is to let Grady take over Dunwoody City right now. That's because it's overwhelming. So you either have to bring in another ambulance company, right, and set up a new contract just with them, which takes time. Or you do the worst route, and you try to set up City of Dunwoody EMS. And I say the worst route because you have to buy your own trucks. You have to go and hire all your personnel. You have to hopefully hire managers. You have to find a director who's willing to build this from scratch in a governmental system. And you have to come up with a budget out of your own city pocket to pay for it. Here's the other thing I forgot to mention. City of Dunwoody is so easy to yell and scream about, oh, AMR is horrible. Oh, they're not taking care of us. And you don't have to pay them at all. The contract's with the county. Now, possibly being a part of the county, you have a part of taxes that has to go into services that, like DeKalb County Fire, you might be putting in. But it's not the same as running Dunwoody EMS. I'm telling you, coming from Jasper County, that was a bad experience. Because what they did is they slapped together their own 911 system. So that's the other thing. What's Dunwoody going to do? Are they still going to be able to use DeKalb? Are they going to get 911 or are they get charged? Like AMR gets charged to use DeKalb County 911 dispatch. How does that play in? I mean, there's a ton of questions and answers, or tons of questions with no answers right now of how that's going to look. And this committee is going to be formed by the end of the month. That's the month of August. How long are they going to take? How long are they going to take to come up with their solution and how this is going to look? Is somebody working full time on it right now? Who gets to say? Well, the commissioners get to say. Oh, Noel's the commissioner? The man, the loudest complainer of all of it, he's going to be in a seat of power to run this system? Because I know in Jasper County, the director answered to the commissioners directly. So the commissioners had all the power. Ultimately, it's being handled horribly wrong all the way around. Conversations are not being had. Power plays are being made. And that's always a problem for me. Because that's never beneficial to the community. That's never beneficial to getting a job done or even ever solving a problem. Power moves never solve a problem. And the citizens of DeKalb County and the citizens of the City of Dunwoody are being hurt in the process. I think I made this comment last week on the show, but I'm not sure if it's just a private conversation I had with Tom or if it's on the show, so I'm going to say it again. All these problems are showing me Grady's on diversion, DeKalb's on diversion. All these hospitals at different times going on diversion. All the systems are getting overwhelmed. NAT, no available trucks. That happens in DeKalb. That happens in Gwinnett. That happens in Fulton. That happens in South Fulton. Fulton is so damn busy that they're separated into Fulton and South Fulton areas. It's the same county. There's no South Fulton County unless I'm ignorant and retarded. Or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say retarded. Unless I'm ignorant and foolish and missing something. The last time I checked a county map, and it's been a little while, there was Fulton County. So the fact that we have, I think Grady services Fulton, North Fulton, whatever, and now they service South Fulton. But it's so busy, it's separated into two major areas for EMS. It tells me we didn't need a Mercedes-Benz stadium. It tells me we didn't need a SunTrust Park when the stadiums we had and the parks we had brought in the people and the tax money and did well. It tells me we need another hospital. When you're at capacity. All right, I'm gonna end with this. It's the Dave Ramsey finance method. When you're digging a hole, either you need a bigger shovel. No, how's he put it? You're talking about the financial hole. I'm going to go back to what I was saying in the first place. When you're at capacity, you have to expand and add more capacity. Or you have to eliminate the need. I was told at one point there was a paramedic whose only job, they had a position, it was AMR, DeKalb County paramedic, but their job, their shift was to show up and sit at DeKalb County Hospital. And so when you brought in a patient and they had to wait for longer than 20, 30 minutes, right? Because in a big hospital, 10 to 20 to 30 minutes max is reasonable to get a room, right? We've called ahead. We're coming. We get triaged. You sign the paper. Well, once you sign the paperwork, you've taken legal custody. See, that was the problem with the call that I talked about, where we sat on the wall for 3 hours. They had legal custody. They treated the patient, yet somehow we were stuck making sure he didn't die because they didn't have a room. That's not our problem. And the cat AMR, I'm going to tell you this, you need to take care of that. You need to fight that fight. Say, once you have signed for the patient, we're done. It's on the hospital. That's part of it. But they had a position, a paramedic position at the hospital paid by AMR to sit there. And basically, if you were going to take longer than 30 minutes to turn over your patient, that medic took on the care of the patient, basically making sure they don't die. That's what babysitting is in a hospital, is what they got, monitoring. That's what monitoring is in a hospital, is to make sure nothing changes and that they stay stable until they got a room. That's what the medic was there for. And either the medic I rode with didn't know, or he just didn't want to tell me because I was a student, which is fair. Either way, it's fair. But something happened. Don't know what. Something happened. That position is no longer there. That was part of getting your trucks back in service, was having somebody who could sit at those hospitals and take patient care when the hospitals wouldn't. So that truck is back in service doing things. I know that some of the supervisors have done that while I've third road with AMR, is we're there, we have a patient, and the medic comes over, talks to the medic I'm riding with, and said, all right, I got this patient, and we get another stretcher for our truck, and our truck was back, and then we're back in service. 20 minutes. That was a good system. That's a way to eliminate the need. That's a part of the way. AMR's running basic trucks. Or I guess non-ALS trucks is really what I should say. I don't know if they're running what I would call basic trucks, and that's not a proper term. But a basic truck would have 2 EMTs on it. The low-level EMT, the lowest level in Georgia. I don't know if they're doing that. I know they're hiring EMTs, but I don't know if they're doing 2 EMTs on a truck. But I do know they're doing 2 advanced EMTs on truck together, and they're non-ALS. So what that means is they're there to catch my stomach hurts, my foot's been hurting for 3 days, possibly, I can't remember if we did a fall or not, so possibly falls, things that advanced level EMTs can absolutely handle. And if it turns out they fell because they had a heart attack, you start CPR and basic care, and a paramedic truck or a supervisor, all the supervisors are paramedics, so a paramedic truck or a supervisor is coming in to make it an ALS truck and do the drugs and the advanced care. On the outside looking in, AMR is trying. As a local company, the supervisors are there, whoever is running AMR in Stone Mountain, whoever's the chief of that office, the director of that office, they seem to be trying. For the most part, the employees seem to be trying. For the most part, the hospitals seem to be trying. I gave you the call that I was on, but that wasn't the norm right now. My normal, and the number of calls I've run in 6 or 7 shifts there, my normal has been 20, 30 minutes, we turn over the care, we get back in service. So it seems like everybody's trying. The people who are not trying are the power players. The freaking regional director making comments like, hey, in the rest of America, we're fine. That ain't trying. That's not doing anything to help the situation. And the police chief and the councilman going, they're horrible. They've done this 3 months ago. They did this one thing. Oh, my people had to take a person in the back of an SUV to the hospital. Dude, get over yourself. State Patrol, I worked in a hospital for a long time. State Patrol brought in a ton of people in their car to the hospital. If Stadies can do it, you can do it. So that's going to be the end of that conversation for a while, unless I get some new information. I want to encourage everybody to share this video to say, stop listening to the power players. Stop listening to the news. If you're in Dunwoody, if you're in DeKalb, get that information and know what's going on because you're the one affected by it. To the regional director, use better words, man. That was dismissive and tone deaf is what those statements were. Tell us what you're doing. And AMR as a whole, put it out there. Put it out there what you're doing. Because you combat misinformation with information. Put it on your website. Make a whole page on your website dedicated to run times. And hey, Tom. Hey, Steve. I'm actually wrapping this up. But put it on the website. These are our average times for this week. And maybe even break it down to Dunwoody and all the different areas, Decatur and the county. Show that. Get on your social media page. And put it out there what you're doing. Hey, we've got 41 trucks up today. We're running 41 trucks in service right now trying to get calls taken care of. We're here to serve you. That's how you get ahead of this. And it doesn't seem like the regional director cares about that. So as long as the regional director doesn't care, things are going to be bad. As long as you let the TV news control the narrative, things are always going to be bad. And if you let the power players against you control it, you're always going to be the bad guy. So those are my thoughts on it. The link is in the chat up towards the top. You can see the report yourself. It's bad. But perhaps what comes out of this will be great for the county and great for the people. And honestly, I have zero ties. Again, one last time, I have zero ties to AMR. I have no financial ties to them, no ties whatsoever. Never worked for them. They're an ambulance company to me. But I believe in the people there. The medics who I've met, the advanced EMTs and the EMTs, the human beings who work there, who are there because they went through school to try to save lives and serve others. Those people I believe in, and that those people need to be respected and taken care of until proven otherwise. So thanks for watching. I got a few announcements to make real quick. I'm going to come over here and make those. So we've got a call. I've been talking about calls all hour. We've got 2 classes coming up and a national registry coming up. So if you're an advanced student who just finished their program and want to get your national registry psychomotor, go to our website, georgiaemt.com, and click on the box that's there because you're going to want to sign up before August 22nd. That's like 2 weeks away. You've got to sign up by August 22nd. The test is on September 8th. If you want to become an advanced student, we got that too. September 13th, we got a class kicking off. Registration will be opened up this weekend for you to do that. And EMT, if you go, man, even with all this stuff going on, I still want to help others. I want to get out there and make a difference in my community. You want to become an EMT. We got that class starting 10 weeks, man, roughly 10 to 11 weeks. But before Christmas is the goal. We're going to get you done before Christmas, man. Holy cow, right? Labor Day weekend is like tomorrow. I know it's not literally tomorrow, but it's like tomorrow. And then the next holiday is Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas. And that's a blink and you're there moment. 10 to 11 weeks. We're starting in September. So right now from now is what, 15 weeks. Think about that. Everybody, oh, Christmas is so far away. It's months away. 15 weeks, people, or less. It's Christmas. We're starting class September 18th. You can sign up again starting on Monday. We'll have the registration open. You can be an EMT by Christmas. And be out there starting the new year with a new job, a new career, serving the world, serving your community, and honestly, for the most part, feeling good about what you're doing. So there is that. All right, everybody, check me out. We're doing more on Instagram. Check out Instagram.com/Georgia Institute of EMS. All spelled out. It's there. Facebook, of course, is here. Facebook.com/Georgia Institute of EMS. All spelled out. I do that all to help you remember. All spelled out. IGTV. It's a new app by Instagram. I'm trying to do videos. I know once we get the studio settled, then, and actually it's fairly settled, man. This is going really well today. The switcher thing's working. The cameras are working. The lighting, we're still going to work on the lighting a little bit, but the lighting's working. It's getting settled, which I know Tom's going to be doing like Topic Tuesdays from here, and you can check that out on Facebook and YouTube. Megan's going to be doing some Instagram TV videos. I've been trying to do a video more or less once a day, and I think I finally worked out a smooth system to where I can get up a video every day.